What is up, man? No, was that not strange? Could you hear me at all? Bryce, thanks for coming back, man. Like that was wild. I was literally talking about being banned on TikTok and I got shut down on YouTube. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Oh my Lord. There we go. That was definitely strange. Was I just completely frozen or could you hear me at all? I know, right? No, you're completely frozen. That is wild. And it froze up on here too. Like it completely froze. So if you're just joining, sir, how are you? If you're just joining, I was just live on here explaining how I was banned on TikTok for a week and explaining how that happened. And I'm not even going to mention it. I am staying away from it at this point. And the major conglomerate that I was told that came at me, it as I'm in the middle of explaining that, it shut down here. I just completely froze up and it cut me off here on YouTube. That was wild. Now, the conspiracy theory in me thinks that there is no such thing as a coincidence. But here's the thing. Wouldn't I be, and this is what I told Mrs. Officer Craig, wouldn't I be just completely, remiss or full of myself if I thought that the National Football League was concerned about little old me? I absolutely think that, but like when that's what it's telling me, that's what TikTok is telling me. And the crappy thing is, I did nothing different than. I hope it was just a YouTube issue. Like I X'd out of it. The live counter was still going. That's why I was asking if the picture was frozen. And there are a couple of things I do like on YouTube about going live through this platform. It's got a live counter. It tells me how long I've been on here, which, good God, if you follow me on TikTok at all or join my lives, I need that. Like, I get lost of time, and I will spend 3 hours on here talking, which is a long damn time. But, yeah, it's got the live counter was still going while it was on here, so I wasn't sure. So hopefully that is fixed. I think we have two of the most humble running backs in the league. Chris, what's good, man? So that's what I'm saying. I am in TikTok purgatory for a week. Believe it or not. This is the first time I don't get community guideline violations. I think I've gotten one of those, and that was when I first joined the app. And that, like I said, that was back in 2019. I don't say anything or do anything because I have a lot of my students that follow me. Even then, I wouldn't put that stuff out there for the general public to consume. I don't talk political. None of any of that stuff. I don't talk anything that's any big hot button topics or any reasons like that. But I was shut down. Apparently, I made somebody upset, and they banned my live access for a week. So I'm beyond frustrated by that, to say the least. Not only that, then that's followed up by Anthony Richardson finding out the news that we found out this week, and that is and I'm on vacation this week. So that was the real kick right in the what was this happened during a week that I had a lot of stuff planned for TikTok and TikTok Live. So that stinks. So I'm banned on TikTok till Sunday evening. So not even Now, Chris, I don't even think it's the trolls that got me. It was an intellectual property violation, which I cannot, or a copyright, which is their community guidelines. Um, I didn't do anything different than what I've always done on TikTok. Like I was sitting here just like this, talking. Matter of fact, when it shut down, I was talking about Edgerrin James's gold teeth and how he refused to remove them, and turned down a lot of money back then. But that wasn't it. It was just this, and they said that I was in violation of a copyright of the National Football League. So that Ben, what's good, man? How are you? Thanks for coming over. I appreciate you guys coming over, man, just so I could even, if it's just a few of us, thank you, thank you, thank you. And here's the other thing. It gives me an opportunity to, branch out a little bit. I do miss, the feel of TikTok and our normal type of thing. But my ultimate goal has been over the course of the next 2 weeks as I work to get this podcast set up and as I work to, branch out on different things for live stream, because why just that's always been my whole fear is I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket like on TikTok. So if they shut things down or take it away from me, we're screwed and we don't have an outlet to continue to do this. So the idea is when we do go live, I stay basically in our chat on TikTok, but I still stream it on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok or Twitter, X, whatever, and including TikTok. There's a lot of good ways to do that, and that is the plan. It's just taking some time to get set up. And I am not tech guy 101, just that knows how to do that stuff like the back of my hand. So it's taking me some time to get there, but this is the why. This is absolutely the why. And the other thing is when I'm on YouTube, if we want, there are things that people ask me about work or whatever else. Just like I told a story about stopping a lady the other night, having guns drawn at her. It was a very tense situation. I don't think I've ever told that story on TikTok because people get, oh God, that's being hateful or that's being whatever. I feel like you can say a little bit more when I'm just based on YouTube. So coming to YouTube has always been something I wanted to do to begin with. So, do you think the Colts don't believe in Sam, considering they signed a new quarterback for the practice squad in case Minshew gets hurt? No, I don't believe that. I still think Minshew is next man up. And for those that don't know, here's the thing. And I've got a lot to say that would really probably piss off a lot of Colts fans. And I've got a lot to say. Like, my whole everything has changed over the course of the past couple of weeks in regards to Anthony Richardson. I will tell you that. And not saying my faith is out the window, but at all. I'm not saying that. But I am saying he looks a lot more like what all of the naysayers have said than not. I'm just keeping it real. I'm keeping it 100. Like, you had all of these people that came at Anthony Richardson when the Colts drafted him and talked about how stupid it was and this, that, and the other. Look, guys, I'm the first one. I was his first cheerleader, that wanted him here. I'm a Gators fan. I'm all of these things. That guy has basically played one game without being hurt. Not even. Like, he went down in game 1. Game 2, he was knocked out. Game 3, he missed completely. And he finished his 4th game, right? No? I'm trying to keep up here. Game 3, he missed. Game 4, did he leave game 4? See, I can't even keep up. I can't even keep up. Because of, because of all the injuries. And basically what I'm getting at is, Minshew's what, 3-0 as starter? This is, the Colts are 3-2. And I've said all along, people say, oh, Minshew's, why isn't Minshew starter? I'm like, because we have to develop Richardson. And here's the thing. If he's going to miss up to, and it's being said that he's going to miss 4 to 8 weeks, possibly up to 8 weeks. The Colts put him on IR. So if he is just missing 4 weeks, I don't think they put him on IR. And they're saying that he may have to get surgery. The Colts are really good about keeping everything swept under the rug. They're not transparent when it comes to their players and their injuries. And they've always been like that. But I tell you what, right out of the gate, this kid, and keep in mind, and sorry, I'll Wayne, what's good, man? Thanks for coming over. Yeah, absolutely. And this early in his career, and I'm going back to when I told all of you all that I was frustrated and that I felt a way. I didn't really say how I really felt. But yeah, when he tapped himself out of the game, that was my first big red flag with this guy. When he self-reported a concussion or concussion-like symptoms, or that when he had a self-reporting injury and went over and was like, I don't feel good, that was my first red flag. And I'm not being harsh. Maybe I'm being old curmudgeon or whatever else, but I come from the school of thought of if you are looking for a quarterback that's going to take you to the promised land, that's going to go get a championship with you, or for you, or for your city, or for your franchise, you are going to have to, and this is just what I've seen in my, time here on this earth, you are going to have to pull their dead bodies off the field in order to get them to come out of the game. Because starters in the National Football League understand that if you aren't in there to start, if you give anybody else an opportunity, they can take that job. They can absolutely take that job. But the fact that we've got and again, he's 21. He just turned 21. So I balance all of these things out. But the fact that he scores a touchdown, jumps up, celebrates, does all the things, goes to the sidelines, and immediately goes and reports that he feels funny. Look, I'm be smart. That's fine. I'm all about that. But give it a minute. This is what I ask, many of you. I said, look, are we past the time where just getting your bell rung isn't such a thing anymore? Because I've had my bell rung more times than I can count or I can remember for obvious reasons. But, give it 5 minutes or give it 10 minutes. I don't feel like I did immediately hitting my head or getting hit or whatever the case is. Him going over and when they have paid spotters that are on the sidelines to spot head injuries and to spot different things like that, when none of them, whose job it is to point out concussion-like symptoms, didn't see anything wrong with him, for him to go over and say, hey, that felt off to me. It felt weird. It felt off to me. And now here we are with a serious injury. Not just a serious injury, but a serious injury on his throwing shoulder, folks. This is AR's arm was, one of the biggest parts of him. His athleticism, his ability to launch the ball down the field. You're looking at having surgery on your throwing shoulder at 21 years old, and you haven't finished a game. We're coming into week 6. I think he's finished one game. One game. Am I wrong? Folks, please, because it gets hard. I'm going to have to sit down and really go through all this. But when he's finished one game, and it was a loss, the question becomes, if the Colts find themselves with a top 10 with a top 10 draft pick, which I think at this point we probably will. If the Colts find themselves in a position with a top 10 draft pick, do the Colts draft a quarterback? Or should the Colts draft a quarterback? And I cannot believe I'm saying this week 6. I can't believe I'm saying this coming into week 6 because I've had so many people, and I owe apologies to, many of people on TikTok where I've naysayed them. I'm like, no, come on now. They're like, Colts need to draft another quarterback. They need to scrap this dude. He's not the future. And I'm like, no. This guy is, unbelievable. And I'm not ready to write him off yet. I understand I'm putting the cart before the horse here. But we can't, coming into week 6, we can't ignore it. It can no longer be ignored. It's a thing. It has now become a thing. And not just a thing, it's a big thing. This guy's, possibly out 4 to 8 weeks and possible surgery. Yeah, the AC strain, I knew Sunday when he went down. I was at the game. I watched him. I watched him go down and point to his shoulder. I watched how everybody around him acted. I watched him grimace in pain as he couldn't even suck it up to try to act like, nothing hurt. So the other team, just so it's not out there for everybody could see, he could not raise his arm. There was major issues with that shoulder. That was not a sprain, a strain, anything like that. He could not lift his arm. And his throwing arm, mind you, that is a big deal. That is definitely a big deal. I believe Peyton put a curse on the Colts at quarterback for releasing him. Yeah, I think, you know what? You're there. And Mr. Thompson said he's looking like he's going to have an RG3 career. At this point, an RG3 career would be great because I don't think, if memory serves me, RG3's career was a little bit better than this. Stroud definitely looks like he's the best rookie quarterback right now. I agree wholeheartedly. Talking about Bryce Young for a minute, did you see the comments that Frank Reich made? Because it's out and about now that, and we talked about this. We talked about this after the Combine. We talked about this after Pro Day. I was baffled when the Panthers went with Bryce Young, when they really went that direction. Because knowing Frank Reich like we did here in Indy and watching him and watching when he was happy, when he was mad, getting to know all of the different, the few different faces of Frank Reich, you could see that Frank Reich was in love with C.J. Stroud. And it's now being reported that was the case. Not only Frank Reich, but the coaching staff of the Panthers across the board loved C.J. Stroud, and that was who they wanted. But it's saying that ownership got involved, as some owners do, and forced the Bryce Young issue. So, that is what it is. But I don't think, I never thought that Bryce Young was going to be the guy. But I also thought that Anthony Richardson, I wouldn't have believed this for a minute. If you would have told me week 6 he'd been out 4 to 8 weeks. I tell you what, folks, and I sent this out on Twitter or X. I said, I've seen this. We've seen this movie before. I know the ending, and it sucks. And that's it. At this point, what do we owe to Anthony Richardson? What do we owe him? The Colts, the franchise owes him nothing. And I think within a 5-week period of time, we've gotten to see, and the good has been good. The good parts have been good. I've enjoyed it. I love seeing him out there. I want to see so much more. but it's like just seeing it's, I don't know if any of you ever watched Stranger Things, but my youngest was a huge fan of Stranger Things. And this last season, what was it? Season 5, I think it was the last one that was out a year ago. What, was like, it took like 4 years. They kept kicking it down the road. They'd show a trailer. They kept kicking it down the road. And I'm like, that's what I feel like about Anthony Richardson. We get to see a little piece, and then, nope, that's nothing. See a little piece, and then, like, these injuries just keep getting worse. They keep getting worse. And it doesn't help when he's a player that takes himself out of the game. What in the wide world of sports is going on? I've never, in all my years of watching football, have seen a player that was a first-round draft pick as a rookie that was the face of a franchise just take themselves out of a game. I've never once seen that. And this is something, I assure you, that all the other talking heads, a lot of people in this league want to say, and they won't, because the league will come down on them like they came down on me on TikTok for CTE and all of these things. You cannot say that. They want to encourage self-reporting and this, that, and the other. Which, that's great if you're a veteran, if you've been there, done that, if you know your position is secure, you've proven yourself, you've this, that, and the other. But you don't take yourself out of the game. What was that? Game 3? I mean, what? It's insane. Absolutely insane. Yeah, Jay Ward, absolutely. Stroud is on fire right now. Like, that is it. And I still thought up until recently, till I'm starting to see all this, and there was nothing. The sad thing is there was nothing that Anthony Richardson could do differently, I don't think, that could have avoided the shoulder injury. It was a hard hit. I blame Shane Steichen just as much as anything for calling a run play with him, calling a keeper. That was a called play. But now it's coming into question the Colts turf at Lucas Oil Stadium, which I've heard, and we've talked about this. We talked about this last season in a live. We talked about how the turf at Lucas Oil Stadium across the league by the Players Association and anybody that's played there says that type of turf is, if not the worst in the National Football League, one of the worst. So Indianapolis and the Meadowlands, they say, are the two worst places to play, turf-wise. And it was brought up that Anthony Richardson even tried to allude to that after game 1 when he hit his knee. Oh, that hurt. Yeah, this, that. Well, yeah. Right. Yes, it does hurt. But that turf is still 10 times better than what Jack Trudeau, Eric Dickerson, Jeff George, Albert Bentley, all of those guys were playing on at the old Hoosier Dome. Not saying that's any better, but it's not just, holy, oh my Lord, like these are just deadly conditions we're playing in here. No, it's not. So I don't know. I'm frustrated. I tell you what, and with being off of, getting my live restricted for a week, I've been being off. I've gone into doing other things at home. My family's like, why don't you just post more content? And maybe I should, but I've taken this time on doing other things. It's still frustrating. This is still an outlet to me because I get to vent and talk about this to people that vent back to me, which is good. But this whole AR thing is beyond frustrating. Now, what? Because here, look, I like Gardner Minshew. I think Gardner Minshew is a great quarterback. However, you look at Gardner Minshew, like look back at the games that he started for us, and even the games he's coming in. As far as inaccuracy, he's been more inaccurate than AR had been up until this last game. The Titans game, AR was not early on. He was not accurate. He looked rough, I thought. But who knows? Now we're just in this. We're back in this limbo, and we're back. It had felt so good from April until today. From April until today, to not have this black cloud of a quarterback issue hanging over our heads as Colts fans and over here on West 56th Street at the Colts complex. That has, that's what's been happening. And it's back. That black cloud, that black storm cloud of, who's going to be the quarterback, what's going to happen, is back. So going back to my long-winded answer, somebody asked me, was it, do they not have faith in Sam Ehlinger? No, I don't believe that's it at all. Like, Sam is next man up. So if Garner goes down, Sam's coming in the ballgame. I think that's it. Period, point blank. But what you want to avoid is, looking at who's next up. Zach Moss as quarterback? You know what I mean? Exactly. Mr. Thompson, you hit the nail on the head. Like, it's like the universe does not want AR and JT on the field together. Like, we waited months and months to see this. And we got, 30 minutes of it? 30 minutes? Not even? That's insane. Mr. Thompson said the black cloud moved from the quarterback to running back to the quarterback. That's exactly what has happened here. And it blows my mind. So trade JT for a quarterback. Look, I still think, I did before this. I think this is going to affect his shoulder in a big way. I do. I think it's going to affect his arm in a big way. How could it not? I don't know if you saw him today. He comes out of practice. Guess what? Black hoodie with the hood up. Arm in a sling. Comes out doing the walk of shame. We just got done with this. Literally, we just got done with this. We saw that out of JT for weeks on end. 10, 15 weeks. From training camp all the way up till last week. JT coming out there with the hood up, moping around. Now it's back. But part of me, maybe I'm just grasping for straws here, and that's fine if I am. This is why I said what JT did to this team was huge. It was much bigger than a lot of people were giving it credit for, because we had this brand new franchise quarterback. And JT came in and, day one of training camp and set the tone. And he put this bad karma out there and whatnot. I don't know, is that part of, and don't think for a second that AR doesn't look up to JT. You better believe that he does. So when you have a guy like that, it's like, no, I'm hurt, and he's calling it injuries. I'm hurt. I'm not going out there and playing. I don't care about my team. Is that where the AR saying, hey, I'm hurt, I'm taking myself out of the game comes from? How many of these injuries could have been played through? This was the fourth time, folks. Fourth time. Every game he's been in, he's had an injury of some kind. 4 injuries, 5 weeks. One of those weeks, he didn't play. So he has not played a game start to finish where he didn't get hurt. And it's... No, they said he conditioned well. We watched him progress. I watched it from, rookie minicamp to OTAs to where he came in at training camp. We watched him look stronger, his passes get better. We watched all of this. That's why I was so up on this Anthony Richardson high horse, man. I'm watching this kid. I'm seeing it. I'm getting stuff from people sent to me that were out there. I'm like, yeah, this is absolutely, he's going to be it. But what I'm starting to question now is, him taking himself out of the game. I'm being a lot more vocal about it now. That was what, week 2? When he took himself out, whatever. I'm being much more vocal about it now because now we look where we are. Look where we are. He is on injured reserve. He's on IR. And if it was just going to be 4 weeks, Colts wouldn't have put him on IR. I doubt. I highly doubt. If it was just going to be a quick thing, no. The Colts are being extremely, extremely optimistic about this. They know what's real. They're not reporting. They're not keeping it 100. I promise you that. I promise you that. Same way when they had him listed as questionable to come back in that game in the second half. Like, that's the biggest crock. I said that at the game. We talked about it at the game. I'm like, that's the biggest bunch of nonsense I've ever heard. Like, the kid, he couldn't lift his arm. He was walking off the field like this. Oh. I'm like, what is happening? What is this? And, and I naysayed all of the people who said the kid's only played 13 games in college. Now we're looking at, he's only got, 17, 18 games under his belt, period, since high school. That's it. That's not very many. That's one full college. That's a season and a half of college. Really? Not very many. Not very many. So the only thing with this is he does have all of these tangible, physical attributes that I think could be beneficial if developed in the right way. But obviously something is amiss here. That something is off here. And let's say he even came back. Let's say he's out. They're saying early December. Early December, folks. Like, this is where we're at. Like, I heard this news this morning or early this afternoon, and it really just it I won't say ruined my day, but it ruined my day as far as football and all of the things that really don't matter in life. It ruined my day as far as that goes, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, you can't make this stuff up. You cannot make this stuff up. And if he is this now, I don't feel very good about the future. I don't. And you will have Colts fans that have completely drank the Kool-Aid. They're like, no, he's going to be the greatest ever. He's this, that, and the other. I'm like, look, and I push back. Like, I'm allowed to be a homer with some of this. And you've heard me say a lot of things. I was hoping and thinking he was going to be all this. But I'm also logical. I also, my vision's still good. I can see, and what I've seen, you can't say, I don't care who you are, you can't say it's been good with the injuries. Like, you're coming into week 6 of the season. He's pretty much out the majority of the season. And if not, say Gardner Minshew wins the next 4 games, let's just say he's only out minimum 4 weeks, as the Colts keep trying to pretend is going to happen. Say he's only out the next 4 weeks. If Gardner Minshew wins 3 out of the next 4 games, do you pull him when an AR comes back and maybe can throw a football, maybe doesn't? No. Because, one, I don't think that happens. I think that it'll be end of the year. I think it'll be the end of the season. Because does this kid have the heart does he really want to be out there enough where he's going to fight through pain and an injury to come back? This is a kid that took himself out of the game when he bumped his head. That put him in concussion protocol for a game and a half. And I'm not downplaying that, but I am. because nobody else saw this. Nobody else said that you look like you were weird or looked like anything that was going on. I don't know. JT didn't get much playing time by the way Zach Moss has been playing. Absolutely. And Zach Moss knows in order, he knows what's sitting right there at his backside. He knows JT's going to be biting at his backside, trying to get that opportunity. But I think you start to see JT get worked in a little bit more each and every game. And hopefully he is back up to where he used to be. Now, keep in mind, that's somebody I still think is a question mark. We've not seen him perform, right? We have not seen him perform at a high level since his surgery. And that's why if they're talking about AR is going to get surgery on his throwing shoulder, I don't know. Low-key looks like Kyler Murray. I asked someone in Medfield how long this injury takes to heal, and they said 4 to 6 weeks usually. And that's it if he has no surgery. I think without the fact that surgery has even been brought up as a question mark, I think that's where this goes. Typically, there are very few times in the National Football League where you hear that sort of news, that surgery is a possibility, and it doesn't happen. And the only time it doesn't happen is when it eventually ends up happening. Like probably 99% of the time. Maybe not right then, but that surgery ends up happening if they're even questioning it. If something's torn a little bit, or if they let it ride out, or see how it goes, or whatever else, trying to not, ruin an entire season or whatnot. I think he ends up probably having surgery on this. And then you look at, recovery time, rehab, getting his arm back to strength. Like, we went through all of this with Andrew Luck. We went through 110% of it with Andrew Luck. Like, we literally, and I will say this. There may or may not have been people hiding with radar guns to see how Andrew Luck could throw. Like, that's where we were with him, because didn't know if Andrew Luck could throw the football anymore, right? And if he could, how fast could he throw? How hard could he throw? Like, we didn't know, because the Colts would not be transparent with this at all. And we're right back to that. We're going to be right back to that. All I know is I'm glad we have Gardner Minshew. And in the event that Gardner Minshew gets injured, Sam Ehlinger will be on deck. But when that happens, you better have somebody, if not two people, on deck behind Sammy. And now that the National Football League allows 3 quarterbacks, allows you to roster 3 without that third spot going against your roster count, you better have someone there on the bench ready to go on Sundays and another one on the practice squad. And the crazy thing is, like, majority of the names, except for the cat that they picked up, I can't even remember his name, former backup to the Browns last year. I can't remember his name. Was it Mond? Let's see. Yeah, Kellen Mond. Yeah, absolutely. That's why they signed somebody to the practice squad. And it was Kellen Mond. He came from Cleveland. He was a backup for the Browns, and I don't know what college he went to. I guess he's also former Vikings quarterback. Signed him to the practice squad. He was a 3rd-round pick by Minnesota in 21. Okay. All right. Let me see if I can find out where he came from. Da, 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 da. Yeah, but I don't see where he went to school. Texas A&M. Mom performed 2021 Senior Bowl and was named its most valuable player. Okay. At the 21 Senior Bowl. He finished his career at Texas A&M as one of 3 SEC quarterbacks, along with Tim Tebow and Dak Prescott, to record 9,000 career passing yards and 1,500 rushing yards. Okay, but those names that I just mentioned, I love Tim Tebow. I am a Tim Tebow fan. That's why AR, the War 15, I was in all day on that. But he, neither one of those guys have. I guess Cowboys fans will argue the Dak Prescott thing, but neither one of those guys really really made it in the National Football League. And speaking of which, what about those Cowboys? This was something we really didn't get to talk about because my live was shut off in the middle of the game. The Cowboys and the Niners. The people that have talked, especially Cowboys fans that have talked, when I said that the Cowboys, I think this was the first big piece, aside from the Cardinals game. I think you're really going to see the Cowboys start to decline. I really do. I'm sorry, Dallas fans, but I really think you're going to see the Cowboys start this slide from this point. And at the end of the season, I think if you go back and look and be like, what was the game that really did it? I think it'll be this San Francisco game, because I don't believe in the Cowboys offense enough. I don't believe in Dak Prescott. I don't think that they will, he's not someone that takes criticism well, I don't believe. And a big embarrassing loss like this, just like the Arizona loss was an embarrassing loss, I think they'll start a slide. We'll see. I'm sticking to it. My preseason predictions were the Cowboys don't make the playoffs. We'll see. They still have an amazing defense. I think they need to move on, whether it's Trey Lance or whomever. I think they need to move on from Dak Prescott. To me, Dak has never been that guy, which is wild, man. Absolutely, Bryce. I'd love to see. Yeah, and you're right. It shows how inconsistent Dak is, and I don't know how Jerry Jones thinks that he is. I think his loyalty to him, and it's a lot like Jim Irsay does from time to time, that loyalty to this person or your personal feelings or whatever gets in the way of making business type of decisions. And that is where I think the Cowboys are with Dak Prescott. And what it will take is a Trey Lance or somebody else coming in and really showing, I thought Rush, what was his name? Cooper Rush? What was enough to do that before. Like you saw how that team was without Dak. And it's because I definitely think the Cowboys would be right there. I think they're there in all other aspects of this team. You got to keep in mind that quarterback position, especially with Dak Prescott, that's such a important spot. That is your on the field general. That's your field general, man. That's the guy that everybody's either buying into it or not buying into it. And Cooper Rush, yeah, thank you. And if the team's not into it, or if he's not backing up what he's saying, you're going to start to lose. You're going to start to lose the team, and that's why I think this team starts to do a slide. I think, we're going to look back and say week 5, that was it. And I think I think Dak probably lost a lot of that locker room. Now, they're not going to say that, or at least they shouldn't. They shouldn't say that. None of the players should come out and say any of that. But how they really feel and what they really think, I think is probably a lot different than what we're really seeing. But so as we sit right now, coming into week 6, who do you guys think is the best team in the National Football League? Actually, check that. Let's break it up. Who's best in the AFC? Who's the best in the NFC? Records aside, who do you think is the team? Because, at this point, records can be deceiving. And whoever has the best record every season is not always the team that goes and wins the Super Bowl. We know that. Ooh, Chargers and the Niners. Okay. You think the Chargers will keep it together throughout the season to continue doing what they need to do? Because the biggest thing about the Chargers I continue to hear is the coach. Like that's their issue. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest fly in the ointment for the Chargers is their coaching staff. Bengals and the Niners. I figured it was Niners, not numbers. What's good, man? How are you? Yeah, I think, and I'm kind of with you. That Bengals and Niners were that was my preseason predictions for Super Bowl, and I still went with the Bengals. And God, early on, it's been hard because everybody's like, "What is wrong with the Bengals?" I'm like, "Look, man, the Bengals haven't done anything different than what they've done the past 3 seasons. They haven't. They haven't come out of the gate swinging. They've looked poor at times throughout the regular season. But as long as they have Joe Burrow at the helm, I think the world of that kid. Like, we've seen him. We've seen what he can do. We've seen what a competitor he is. And we've seen, especially the past 2 seasons, they get hot right at the right time. They turn it on when they need to turn it on. And I don't see any reason to believe that this season will be any different. Well, I guess we shall see. Ooh, Niners and the Bills. Okay. And Ben, let me ask you this. So I don't know if you had an opportunity to watch any of it, at least on replay, or if you watched it Sunday morning. But does that Jacksonville game, make you feel waver your support or what you think? Obviously, what you thought about the Bills, one way or the other. And don't get me wrong, Jacksonville's a good team. They've got a crazy talented offense on that team. But I think Jacksonville is also one of those teams that they're still developing and that they have realized will be much different. They had no expectations last season. They had no expectations to perform. They were essentially the worst team in the league. People thought they were going to perform as the worst team in the league. And that last third of the season, they discovered a gear that they didn't know they had, and we saw what they could do with it. You've had all offseason. Jags are going to win the division. They're going to win, they're going to win the AFC. They're going to da-da-da-da-da-da, right? Is it laggy? It's laggy. I'll shut the Wi-Fi off. My Wise mesh router system should keep it from going laggy. I'd like to see it. I feel bad for Justin Herbert. So, I like Justin Herbert. I've been one of those guys that I've never, when it comes to Justin Herbert, because there for a while, not so much now, but you go back a season, I was constantly getting the argument from people arguing with me on who was better, Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert. And to me, it wasn't a conversation at all. It wasn't. Like, Joe Burrow is the guy, right? I will say this real quick. shameless self-promotion. If there's anybody here that's just stopping by, please smash that subscribe button. I'd be very, very grateful. I'm Officer Craig. We talk lifelong football. Not always in that order, but we talk a lot of football. So going back to Justin Herbert, I don't think he's been in a position where he's been showcased like Joe Burrow has either, in his defense. Joe Burrow has had opportunities to showcase his skills and his talents and his abilities on a national level, I believe, more frequently than Justin Herbert has. But you can also say there's a reason for that, because Joe Burrow fought and got his team to AFC championship games to showcase his skills and talents on a much higher level. So it's 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. I think Josh Allen could turn that team around. So do you think he stays healthy? That is the other question. And a Colts fan talking about another team's quarterback being healthy is almost comical right now. But that's what concerns me most out of the Bills is Josh Allen's ability or inability to remain healthy. And I guess I can't really say inability because he's done it. He stayed in the game. Joe Burrow scares the piss out of me, excuse my language, every time he takes off with the ball, because I'm like, oh, God, here it goes. Here it goes. This guy's going down, right? Chiefs and Niners, I don't know if Purdy has what it takes to win a Super Bowl yet. Boom. Bryce, you said a mouthful there. So thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm glad you brought that up, because last season I had so many Niner fans that came in here and we discussed this, and we discussed it all off season on how Mr. Irrelevant picked last in the draft, had talked about how great Brock Purdy was, whatever. And my comeback to that was, look, any backup can come in and win some ball games. But just because when the starter goes down that a backup comes in and wins X amount of ball games doesn't make them a starter. That makes them a good backup. And that's what I constantly say about Gardner Minshew. So you come into this season, I'm like, look, jury's still out on this kid. But now you've got people saying, hey, this is going to be the MVP in the league. I'm just right there on, and I saw somebody else said something very similar to what I'm getting ready to say, and I'm like, yes, that's it. That's exactly how I feel. Like I feel that he is okay. Like I'm just now starting to I'm like, okay, maybe this kid, his name should be in one of the top quarterback conversations, right? Maybe he really is good, right? Like, and because I wasn't even there yet. Like, anybody can get lucky. Anybody can get lucky. Speaking of which, I wonder if anybody won the Powerball. But anybody can get lucky. But him taking his team through the course of an 18-week season and deep through the playoffs to a championship is a whole different conversation. And we are only in week 6, right? We're coming into week 6. We've got we've got 2/3 of the season left to go. Not to mention the preseason or the postseason. So I guess to me it's going to take seeing him get all the way to the end. It's going to have to see him get his team through the regular season, finishing at a high level, and then doing what he did in the postseason last year. Before it really to be, okay, this kid is him, right? We as fans are, especially if it's your team, we are so, and I'm guilty of it too, we are so quick to want to call different players that he is him. He is him. Like, Brock Purdy is him. Anthony Richardson is him. Justin Herbert is him. Like, he is the dude. He MVP, MVP, MVP. That's constantly and consistently what we hear out of fans. And I get that. But I think in the realistic and logical sense, I don't believe that Brock Purdy has earned that yet. How do you all? Yeah, he's definitely got it done, right? All that's said about Brady, absolutely, and that's what I'm saying. Like, he very well could be, but I'm also not putting the cart before the horse and saying all of that if this is a fluke. And I guess it's getting to be a longer fluke, but he and just like we talk about Lamar Jackson or hell, Carson Wentz or Matt Ryan, for that matter. Just because you have an MVP season doesn't mean you have an MVP career, right? There's a big difference there. And I guess what I'm getting at is not anybody, but it's more apt to have an MVP type of season than will it stand the test of time, right? And we haven't seen Brock Purdy play a season yet. And I hope for this kid because it's a great story. It's it's a story that will be told, well past my lifetime and his in the National Football League. If he can keep it together, continue to play at a high level, take his team deep in the playoffs, and go win a championship. And even if he doesn't win a championship, even if he just falls short, but if he makes the Super Bowl and plays in the Super Bowl, after leading his team the whole way, after being the 206th pick of the draft, I think that's a good story. That's a good storyline. And those are the type of stories that the NFL wants to tell, So that's where I'm at. He's getting it done. I hope he continues to do that, but I'm cautiously optimistic with Brock Purdy. We're a third through the season. We've got a long way to go, and it's easy to forget when we're right there. But we shall see. But right now, I think from what I was asking on who you guys think is the best team in the league right now, I think it's consistent between all of us here that the Niners are it, right? I think the Niners are probably, if not the one of the two best teams in the league right now. I think I'd put them just up against anyone. But to that being said, what do the Niners look like against the Chiefs? What do the Niners look like against the Dolphins? What do the Niners look like against an AFC team? And that's where, that's where the true test is going to come. Because I'm sorry, being good in the NFC does not mean that you're a top tier team right now. It just doesn't. Their NFC team's getting better, but you saw I didn't think very highly of the Cowboys. Thoughts on Tua? Where does he stand? Look, I keep waiting. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop with Tua. I said all preseason that I think Tua ends up missing at least one game before week 10. And I really hope that he doesn't, because that Miami Dolphins team is fun to watch. They are fun to watch. Like, it's like watching a track meet. Like, they have more speed on that team. It's phenomenal. It is absolutely phenomenal to watch them play. Like, that is a fun team to watch. But I hope Tua stays healthy, because my concern is you take Tua out of that equation, I think that it's a house of cards at that point, waiting to crumble. And that was their issue last season. But I hope I really hope for all of us because I think when the Miami Dolphins are better, they are one of those teams. When the Dolphins are good, it's better football for all of us, right? The Dolphins are just one of those teams. What about the Chiefs? Chiefs are mid, in my opinion. I think the same thing, but I'm kind of anti. I'm on the anti-Chiefs bandwagon right now. And I can give you 1,000 reasons why. I think they're, and the NFL's done it to them, and we like to build up our heroes just to be able to tear them apart, right? Uh, and we have done that to the Chiefs. They went from a team that had never won a championship, and they had all this rich history with that franchise and in Kansas City, and they finally won a championship to now they've got this cockiness, right? That rubs a lot of people wrong, including me. A lot of times they get calls that go their way in bigger games. I've seen that, and that's part of why I'm telling you, like, I feel a way towards the Chiefs now, and a lot of it is that, and a lot of it's not their doing, but some of it is. Just like what call was it? The last really, it was the Jets game when they went down. They threw the flag after the ball was picked off. Patrick Mahomes finishes running down the field, and he stands there with his arms out, being cocky, just walking around. I'm like, come on, man, act like you've been there before, dude. Like, you saw the call was controversial. Just it probably shouldn't have been. That probably should have been your third pick of the night. Just let it go. Don't doing all of this and then you throw Taylor Swift in the mix, and it's a recipe for, unless you are part of Chiefs Kingdom, it's made a recipe for you. Unless you're a Chiefs Kingdom or a Swiftie, it's a recipe for you not to like that team. It really is. I hope Geno continues to have a season like last season. I do too, which honestly, I'm a little, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure how Geno was going to perform this season. Like, looking back on how he had played in the past and then coming up in last season, it was one of those kind of like what I talked about Brock. I'm like, anybody can get lucky sometimes. Anybody can have a good season, or anybody can this, that, and the other. But was it that? So you're really going to see what he's about with 22, 24, 40, and I don't think those were any of my numbers. Tartar sauce. Huh. But you find it weird last 3 games for on a controversial call. It's almost like the NFL wants them to win because they got look. I do. When you bring Taylor Swift in the mix, and I will tell you this: you bring Taylor Swift in the mix, I don't think. And I said this day one, from the time that Travis Kelce was talking about sending her a friendship bracelet with his number on it and all of that. We talked about it a little bit, and then as soon as this happened, I'm like, don't think that the National Football League is all over this. Like, those are two giant money-making universes colliding, right? And they're two separate cash cows. They are. That are existing in two separate universes. And there's no way to intertwine those universes. Because if you could, imagine the money you could make on that. That being said, I think they've found a way. Like, I think we would all be remiss to think that this completely and 110% just happened organically. I think it would be, and maybe I'm just too old, crouchety, get off my lawn type of guy that thinks that everything's a conspiracy, and I don't. But I also, I know if there's $1 to be made rich people are going to spend the money and find a way to make that dollar. And if you've got two big money-making cash cows in Taylor Swift and Swifties and the National Football League and their fan base, that there's no way you can find a way for them to fit together except for this. Just like look at his jersey sales. Look at Travis Kelce's jersey sales. You don't have to look far on TikTok and you see girls watching the NFL that have been to going to their first game, buying tickets, for Chiefs road games just to be able to get a shot to see her. How do you expose the National Football League to young females? How? Like, that's a whole fan base that spends a lot of money there. How do you expose your product to them? You bring in Taylor Swift some way, somehow. And I'm not too, just passive or passe to think, no, nobody would ever organize something like that or arrange something like that. Like, come on, there's arranged marriages that happen in this world, let alone the arrangement of two superstars to pretend that they're together. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've got the Travis Kelce, who's the NFL's hottest commodity at the moment. He's everywhere doing everything in every TV commercial, podcast, documentaries, Super Bowl rings, you name it. You name it. And that was pre-Taylor Swift. You get those two, all they got to do is make a couple appearances together. That's it. So I don't know if they're really together, if they're really an item or not. All I know is everybody's losing their minds about it, and we're all talking about it. So it is doing exactly what, here's the thing. Think about it for a second. The National Football League, if they were going to go out and pay a firm to say, hey, how can I get an age group from 8 to 18 or 8 to 35-year-old women, how can I get them to buy into my product? This is it. Like, it would textbook be it. And that's what I think about that. That I don't think that this was just and not saying that they don't like each other, maybe they do, but I also don't think that this was just this organic thing that happened naturally. I don't believe it. There's too much money being made off the two of them being together, holding hands, or riding away in a convertible. There's too much money being made in that. Absolutely. What do y'all think? Now, or are you guys just tired of hearing about her, hearing about him, hearing about either one of them? Because that's kind of where I'm at. But that being said, look at all the new money that's coming into the National Football League. Look at all the new money that's coming into the National Football League. Guys, I appreciate you. We're almost up to 20 viewers at the moment. I appreciate you. If you're new here, if you followed me over from TikTok, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I'm on a sabbatical from TikTok till this coming Sunday evening. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate you. I'm Officer Craig. We talk life, law, and football. Not always in that order. But we do talk a lot of football. I'm a cop and a Colts fan. I understand that could be two strikes against me through a lot of you. But, hey, hang out for a little bit. You may enjoy yourself. And if you have any questions, ask away. That's what I'm here for. Only things I ask you, just be respectful. Makes me hate Taylor Swift even more. Look, I have my youngest is a huge fan. Matter of fact, I had a ticket to go see this Taylor Swift movie that comes out of her tour that comes out Friday night. Like, if she didn't make enough money from her tour, which I love that she's doing. I do love that because I couldn't afford to buy my child Taylor Swift tickets. Not going to happen. People were selling them for thousands of dollars a ticket. And no. I think that's insane. That is absolutely insane. Even if I had the money laying around, disposable income laying around, I still would be against spending that kind of money to go see somebody perform. So I appreciate the fact that she has a movie coming out that's all just her tour, right? I appreciate that. How do you feel about the Aaron Rodgers, Travis Kelce beef? I think it's funny. I love it. And if you haven't seen it, Aaron Rodgers referred to, on the Pat McAfee show, referred to Travis Kelce as Mr. Pfizer. And the reason for that, and if you don't know, Aaron Rodgers, if you remember back to the pandemic, Aaron Rodgers was against getting the jab. You know, right, wrong, good, bad, ugly, indifferent. He was against getting the jab. Travis Kelce, on the other hand, can be seen doing Pfizer commercials, promoting getting the jab and flu shots and this, that, and the other. So in conversation during an interview the other day, Aaron Rodgers, who is out with a torn Achilles, who has nothing but time, so he has found himself on the Pat McAfee show frequently here as of late, referred to him as Mr. Pfizer. You know, Travis Kelce kind of clapped back with, I forget what exactly it was he said, called him Mr. Johnson Johnson because the Jets are owned by Johnson & Johnson. So they continue to go back and forth, you know, and Aaron Rodgers basically, because Pfizer, their research and development, put out a tweet with a jersey, with an 87 jersey that says Mr. Pfizer on the back. And it's funny. Like, it's absolutely funny. And if you haven't seen it, look up the clip where Pat McAfee informs Aaron Rodgers that was a thing. And to see his face, you could tell that he bit his tongue in a lot of ways, that he didn't say what he really wanted to say. I found it funny. I think it's, you know, things like that I think are good for football. You know, it keeps us talking, and it's keeping Aaron Rodgers relevant. Not that he's not relevant, but it's hard to remain relevant when you're out during the football season, when you're out with a major injury, right? There's nothing for him to talk about. So he is staying relevant. He's staying in, you know, at the forefront of the sports news and sports media. I think it's funny. I absolutely think it's funny. Well, it's after midnight. I appreciate all of y'all that have come over this evening to hear me talk a little bit. Let me vent out my frustrations about Anthony Richardson and what we have going on here in Indy. It really is super frustrating, but it is what it is. You know, in Minshew we trust right now. So, Mustache, let's see what you can do. But on the other hand, I never want to see us lose. But also, I know that Gardner Minshew's not going to be the long-term future of this franchise. And I'm at the point now where I am questioning whether AR is that guy. I haven't all the way up until today. Well, I started, you know, maybe Sunday a little bit. I'm like, this is just, you know, one of those things. And as Mr. Thompson said in the comments, that black cloud over this franchise went from the quarterback to the running back to the quarterback again. And that's exactly what has happened. You know, we went from this quarterback void to, you know, we got our quarterback, and then it went right over Jonathan Taylor's head, and then we signed JT, and not 30 minutes. We didn't get to see those two on the field together for 30 minutes. And that's frustrating. So, absolutely, it is what it is. If you would, give a thumbs up to the live if you've, enjoyed any of what you've heard this evening. I appreciate you coming over. Please hit that like button. I appreciate you. Ward, what's good, man? Yeah, I got banned from TikTok for a week, or not from TikTok, but from Live. They thank you for whoever that was that hit that like button. This is something I've been experimenting with, anyways, with wanting to come over to YouTube. You can say some different things. Not that there's a lot of different things that I want to say, but there's sometimes I want to talk about some things that don't necessarily want to fall under the TikTok guidelines or parameters. But TikTok, right. And and if you know me, I don't do anything. Like, this is the first time that this has happened. I don't know. It must have been whatever was on in the background. It was an intellectual property community guidelines reason by the National Football League. So it was either because I was wearing a Colts jersey with the NFL logo on it, or something that was on in the background. And of course, TikTok, all of this is done. They do all of this through AI. And by the time I've reached out to the people that's going to get involved and review this, and I get any true solid answers on what the reason was, or even a reversal of it, they give you the option to appeal it. The appeal is done all by AI as well. There's no humans involved in any of this. So AI just looks, oh, there was something from, the National Football League on here, or there was that recognizes, something in the screen that was on, or something that they heard. So it's crazy, man. And good luck talking to a human being. That's the hard part about it, man. So it's been very frustrating, especially when my platform is what it is over there on TikTok, and it's made me more frustrated than not. I will put it that way. I was pretty fired up Sunday night when it was shut down, because I was just talking away and it just bloop, live ended. I'm like, really? Why? But I go out of my way to not talk about anything that would, or do anything on there. I've never gotten a community guidelines violation or whatnot. That's why I block people that say certain things. That's why I don't mute people. A lot of people, get their feelings hurt or whatever and want to report something. But it since my account is since I'm verified on TikTok, there are some things that I have to be more careful doing than for those that don't have a verified account, which is silly. But it is what it is, right? My favorite car? The one I'm driving. Yeah, Sunday at like 9:05. So not for the Colts game. I missed the Colts game on Sunday. Can't go live during that or after that or talk about it. It will be late Sunday evening. Colts talk won't be till late Sunday evening. And the big thing is I'm on vacation this week. So I had all of this stuff planned and scheduled, and a couple different live events to do this coming week, and that kind of got scrapped. Unless something happens and they reverse this, but from what I've heard, it's going to take it. Before I talk to anybody about it, the suspension will be long over with. And the bad part about it is a week. I've never done anything on here. The first time I get in trouble, you ban me for a week? Like, come on now. That's insane. It makes me not want to go back to it. I'm sure I will, but in the meantime, I've made TikTok a lot of money. They can say whatever they want, but I continue to make TikTok money. Not me, them. And even if someone gifts you, they basically take half of it. So it's not like anything I do on there that maybe they would pay me for. They are definitely taking a big chunk of it. So it's frustrating, but I appreciate having this outlet. I'm glad to be able to do this. So make sure, if you haven't done so yet, please hit that subscribe button. Share the live. We will. What is tonight? So we'll probably do this for Thursday Night Football tomorrow night. I won't be showing the game. You better believe that. And I would show the game anyways. And what I think happened, one, I badmouthed the National Football League about 5 minutes before they banned me. And two, there was a guy that was asking, because people will come on and be like, stop talking and show the game. I'm like, I don't show the game. Like, you want to watch a game, go somewhere else. Typically, anybody that asks that, I just block them. I don't say anything, I just block them. But because do I believe that the National Football League's sitting there watching my account, worried about what I'm talking about or what I'm doing? I think that's silly. I could be wrong, I guess, but I don't believe that that to be the case. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Who's my Super Bowl pick this year? So I'm still sticking with the two, and they're kind of boring. They're kind of boring. I'm going to stick with the two Super Bowl picks that I had preseason. My September 6th picks, and that is the Cincinnati Bengals and the 49ers. And I think those are, between those two teams. Now, obviously, the Niners are playing lights out football right now. Bengals, not so much. But the Bengals aren't down and out completely. Like, they're still there. The Bengals are doing what they've done the past 3 seasons. So that's where we are. Guys, I appreciate you. I'm going to bounce off here. It is after midnight. I've got a couple things I need to do before bed. So I appreciate you all. Thank you all so much for coming over. Please, I will post another video on TikTok and tell you what time, but please plan to be here about 9 or 9:30 tomorrow night. Hop over here and let's do this again if you would. If you would, hit that like button before I leave. And if you haven't already done so, if you're here just randomly, hit that subscribe button. I appreciate you all. Thank you all so much, as always. As I end every live, I leave you with this. It doesn't cost anything to be nice. It doesn't. I challenge you each and every day, especially tomorrow when you go out into the wild, say something nice to somebody. Do something nice for somebody. It doesn't cost anything, because you never know how much you can change the trajectory of someone's day or even their life by doing a small random act of kindness. And that's God's honest truth. And I'm not talking about anything big. I'm talking about holding the door open for somebody. Let somebody in front of you in traffic. If you're in line at the grocery store and there's a guy behind you with one thing, let him cut you if you've got a bunch of stuff. It's little things. Because we're all in this life together, and I assure you that we're all going through something. I know I am. And I'm sure there's many of you out there that are going through something as well. So do what we can. Do what you can to do better. Do what you can to be better. Because that's one thing we all should be able to agree upon, is we all can do better and we all can be better. Just treat each other better as humans. So I appreciate you, YouTube. Thank you so much for hanging out, talking lifelong football. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Come back and see me tomorrow. Be good.